And as we heard earlier in the program, doctors in this province aren't thrilled with her either. They are threatening a charter challenge after 2 rounds of unilateral cuts to physicians' fees. The Premier of Ontario, Kathleen Wynne, is with me in studio. Good morning.
Good morning, Matt.
Moving on. Who do you think's angrier with you and your government, teachers or doctors?
So, well, I don't think it's a contest who's going to be angrier at Kathleen. But here's the theme that connects these two stories, Matt. We are, as other jurisdictions around the continent, quite frankly, we're dealing with having to find ways to rein in costs and having to deal with expanding healthcare costs on the one hand, and having to make sure that we are making increases where it will influence the excellence of our healthcare system, the excellence of our education system, and that has meant that we've been having difficult conversations. We're in a difficult financial situation. There's no doubt about that. So we've had challenging conversation with teachers and with education workers, a challenging conversation with doctors. But in both cases, we know as a government how important it is that we have a good relationship with them.
So doctors say there's no conversation happening. You've unilaterally imposed cuts. Let's talk about the doctors first, and we'll get to teachers and the education workers in a moment. Why did your government unilaterally impose those cuts?
So there were a set of rules set up with the doctors that were agreed upon both by the government and the doctors. Doctors occupy a sort of unique place in the labor continuum. They're not a union, but they have an association, and they have had conversations with us about what the rules would be. We followed those rules. We couldn't come to an agreement. There were many proposals put forward. The doctors didn't accept them. We brought in a mediator. So Justice Warren Winkler came in. He looked at the proposals that were on the table, and he recommended to both sides that the doctors that this is the agreement, or these were the conditions that should be put in place. So we moved ahead to implement the proposal that was on the table.
Doctors dispute that. Doctors say that this is a unilateral cut, that this is not just one cut, it's a series of cuts, and that it puts not just their livelihood, but the health of Ontarians at risk.
But this is about compensation. It's about physician compensation, Matt. And I am very pleased that our doctors are well compensated. They have the highest compensation of any physicians across the country,
but they also
and in other jurisdictions.
But out of that compensation, they pay for things like, in this city, overhead. They pay for rent, which is very expensive. And they would say
that some do. Some don't have those overhead costs. So, there are within the term doctor, there are different kinds of practitioners. And one of the conversations that our health minister wants to have is, how do we differentiate? How do we make sure that people are compensated in a way that reflects the different challenges that they have? We need to have that discussion. The minister has asked the OMA now to have a conversation, to come back and do that. But we followed the rules, Matt, and we have to constrain healthcare costs. We have a healthcare system that is dealing with an aging demographic. There are huge challenges around home care and making sure that people get the care that they need where they need it, and we need to make those investments.
Doctors are angry, and doctors say, we'll leave this province, that we will leave Ontario because it's too expensive for us to do our work here.
Well,
are you worried about that?
Well, and I would say to those doctors, I hope that you will look around at other jurisdictions and you will realize that you are very well compensated compared to other jurisdictions. And quite frankly, Matt, I know of many doctors who have left and have come back, because practicing medicine in Ontario it's a wonderful healthcare system that we have, and we want to keep it that way.
Let's talk about education. The Elementary Teachers Federation saying that they'll